What's up guys, Pratima here. So if you were to ask me what's my favorite mid-range phone right now, my answer would be the Realme 9 Pro Plus. It's just such a well-rounded smartphone that I'm comfortable recommending to most people even to this day. And challenging the Realme 9 Pro Plus, Samsung has recently launched the Galaxy M53 in India and a few other European markets, which is the successor to the Galaxy M52 that made its debut about 6 to 7 months back. So, can the Galaxy M53 compete with the Realme 9 Pro Plus, or does Realme remain unbeaten? For that, one of our team members has been using both these devices for a month now. So let's explore all that in this video right after the quick word from our sponsor, Ugreen. As you don't get a charger inside the box in most of the phones, including the Galaxy M53, many of us are searching for a reliable third-party charger. And Ugreen's 65-watt 3-port GaN fast charger might just be what you need. It supports all the major charging protocols, including Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4.0 and USB Power Delivery 3.0. That means that this thing can charge everything from your iPhones, MacBooks, and smartphones. And since it is a GaN charger, it is quite compact compared to your typical 65-watt power brick. And despite the small size, Ugreen has managed to fit 2 USB-C and 1 USB-A port here so that you can fuel up multiple devices at once. So if you have a lot of gadgets lying around and are looking for a great portable charger, be sure to check this out. Okay, now let's get back to the review, starting from the design. And here, nothing has changed from last year's Galaxy M52 in terms of the form factor. So yeah, this is quite a big phone, and one-handed usage is certainly a bit of a struggle here for someone with small hands like me. But despite the large size, Samsung has delivered quite a slim and lightweight build quality. Then again, I do miss that heft on the Galaxy M53 that I've come to expect from such a big phone. Also, being an M-series phone, its design and color options are not that particularly attractive either. The matte finish at the back is a nice touch, but besides that, M53's design does nothing to me. When putting it next to the similarly priced Galaxy A33, I am sure most people will prefer the overall aesthetics of the Galaxy A33 instead. Not to forget, the M53 is also missing any form of IP rating, unlike the Galaxy A33, which comes with IP67 dust and waterproofing. So I do think that given the price tag of this phone, Samsung could have done some tweaks to make the M53 a little more attractive here. As for the display, we all know that Samsung makes some of the best smartphone displays out there, and this 6.7 inches Super AMOLED Plus screen is no exception. Its default color calibration does lean a bit on the warm side, but there's a color temperature slider inside the settings, so this is no biggie. That AMOLED experience we expect from Samsung is still alive and well too, and it's definitely a better panel than the one you get on the OnePlus Nord CE2 and the Realme 9 Pro Plus. I am also happy with its brightness levels and auto brightness adjustment, and the phone handles 120Hz refresh rate just fine without micro stutters or lags or anything as such. There's a Wideband L1 certification for high-res streaming as well, so binging the latest episodes of Stranger Things looks first class here. Support for HDR video playback would have been just cherry on top, but I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for many. Having said that, the Galaxy M53 does not earn full points in the media consumption department since Samsung has gone with the same old mono speaker this time. Although it gets loud enough and there is no distortion in sound quality even at the max volume, a stereo speaker is really not a big ask on a phone that costs about 20,000 Indian rupees. Plus, I think the haptics and touch sampling rate also could have been somewhat better here. As things stand, the typing experience on the Galaxy M53 is simply not as enjoyable as on the Realme 9 Pro Plus. Other than that, proximity sensor, carrier aggregation, and VoLTE call, however, work flawlessly here, so that's good. Okay, let's talk about the performance now, and in this aspect too, I don't see improvements over last year's Galaxy M52. Because compared to the Snapdragon 778G on the M52, the Dimensity 900 powering this phone is relatively underpowerful and under-optimized as well. Be it in terms of CPU or GPU or the overall performance, the Galaxy M53 is marginally behind its predecessor and even the Dimensity 920 powered Realme 9 Pro Plus for that matter. But does that make any difference in day-to-day usage? Absolutely not, as it turns out. The Galaxy M53 handles everything from loading up apps to keeping them in memory perfectly fine. I also ran my usual multitasking and speed test, and the results speak for themselves. It is still chasing the Realme 9 Pro Plus by some margin, but that's solely because of One UI 4's rather heavy animation scale, which is something you can easily dial down under the developer options, by the way. Talking about One UI, it still remains one of my favorite Android skins out there. But unlike the Galaxy A33 and last year's Galaxy M52, which is guaranteed to receive 3 years of OS updates, the M53 will only be getting 2 generations of updates, so only up to Android 14. The bloatware situation is also quite upsetting here, as it loads with a bunch of third-party and Samsung apps. Even the default lock screen wallpaper service here is Glance. Okay, what about gaming on the Galaxy M53 then? Well, that's where the Dimensity 900 fails to keep score against the excellence of the Snapdragon 770 8G. For instance, the Galaxy M52 delivers smooth 60 FPS on Call of Duty at high graphics and max frame rates, whereas you will have to bring down the graphics to low on the Galaxy M53 and the Realme 9 Pro Plus for similar results. And it's the same case with other popular titles like PUBG and Genshin Impact 2. But what I am especially impressed with is the thermals on the Galaxy M53. Samsung does not usually do passive cooling on its phones, but this one is a rare exception since it has vapor cooling chamber inside. And based on our findings, it's clear that this cooling system works just fine to keep the Dimensity 900 nice and cool at all times. On top of this, the Galaxy M53 has an upper hand over the Realme 9 Pro Plus if you play a lot of high FPS ready games as well. Here, Samsung has optimized titles like Injustice 2 and Critical Ops, and also Mobile Legends to run beyond 60 FPS. Neither of them hit 120 FPS cap, and I noticed slight frame drops into the game as well, but it's still better than being limited to just 60 FPS. The Galaxy M53 is the most affordable Samsung phone with a 108 megapixel camera. And if you have checked out my review of the Samsung Galaxy A73, I was impressed with its camera output. So honestly, I had high expectations with the Galaxy M53's cameras too. For this, we compared it against the Realme 9 Pro Plus and found the M53's results from the primary camera to look slightly more natural most of the time. It does somewhat boost saturation, but Realme's image processing is a little overboard in this aspect. But besides that, I would say that these two phones compete very well in terms of details and dynamic range. Yet, in some cases, the M53 shoots underexposed photos, especially when it's about to get dark. And although it lets you capture a wider field of view with its ultra-wide-angle camera, the edge distortion can be a bit too distracting. The Realme 9 Pro Plus, on the other hand, manages slightly better details around the edges. Okay, the Realme 9 Pro Plus also shoots more pleasing portrait shots in general, where the subjects are artificially brightened. On the contrary, the M53's portraits are somewhat underexposed and have worse dynamic range. Even its selfies have this distinctive, warm, yellowish tinge with very little details. That's not to say that Realme selfies are all that great though, since the subjects look a bit pale here too. But when it gets dark, the Realme 9 Pro Plus shoots way better, way sharper low-light photos since it has OIS on mode. On the contrary, the Galaxy M53 standard nighttime shots are noisy and underexposed. But with night mode turned on, it does bring exposure to a more acceptable level. Alright, getting to videos, the Realme 9 Pro Plus shoots noticeably steadier videos at both 4K 30 and 1080p 60 FPS modes, mostly thanks to a little cropping and magic. At 1080p 30 FPS, the M53 manages similar stabilization without cropping in. Okay, so shooting a selfie video from the Realme 9 Pro Plus and the Galaxy M53, and evidently Samsung has a narrower field of view as it has cropped in to maintain stabilization, whereas Realme has a wider field of view. Having said that, Samsung gives you the option to shoot at 4K 30 FPS and 1080p 60 FPS resolutions as well, whereas Realme only lets you shoot at 1080p 30 FPS. Apart from that, the video quality from both the phones is not that great actually, and exposure maintenance is very lackluster for both the devices. Other than this, I also checked its cameras against the Galaxy A33 to see if the 108 megapixel sensor is all that special. As it turns out, these two camera systems are quite similar. M53's photos have slightly better HDR and maybe a little bit better exposure maintenance sometimes, but well, that's about it. So unlike the Galaxy S73, M53's 108 megapixel camera is not what Samsung has painted it out to be. Cameras aside, the Galaxy M53's battery life is great. Under normal usage, the phone will easily last you through the day with some charge to spare before you go to bed. But I guess the battery endurance could have been even better if Samsung had implemented a dynamic refresh rate feature here. Likewise, while Samsung at least shipped a 15-watt power brick with the Galaxy M52 last year, you're not getting one this time. And a compatible 25-watt adapter takes it from 0 to 100% in a little under 1.5 hours. Okay, let's wrap up this review now. From everything that I've discussed so far, it's clear as day that the Samsung Galaxy M53 is not as impressive as I initially thought it would be. Above everything else, Samsung's biggest selling point in the mid-range segment has always been the cameras, but unfortunately, this guy does not live up to those expectations. Maybe that's because Samsung has not optimized the Dimensity chip well, or maybe it's something else. Whatever the reason, the Galaxy M53 needs a lot of work in the camera department. And compared to the Galaxy M52, even the performance is somewhat of a downgrade here. So if you're looking to buy a reliable mid-range phone right now, the M53 just does not make any sense as long as Samsung is still selling the Galaxy M52, that too at a cheaper price. On the other hand, the Realme 9 Pro Plus is still a great option in this segment. Or if you're shopping for something that's better looking, has a longer software commitment, and even has an official IP rating, then the Galaxy A33 is also a decent alternative, especially since it has received a healthy price cut since its launch. So guys, that was all for our full review of the Samsung Galaxy M53. We will be coming up with more video content like this. So to watch all of those, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications icon. Till then, I'm Pratima and thank you so much for watching.